So, Gigi Dog, what do you think about this draft in front of us? Do you think China was a good pick against Rus? I
Well,
don't think so either. It feels all over the place. She's confused. Myriad, tell us more. We have China versus Rus on Gorge. Hey.
China versus Rusan Gorge. Not sure what Gigi Dog's opinions are on the matter. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think nowadays, Rus is relatively happy about this one, I think. Now, China can put up a good fight, I think, against Rus. One of the few civs that can in the game, I would say. Not many. Just side note, we actually have Scandinavia picked, which I'm also looking forward to. But here on Gorge, yeah. You know, it's. I think in the past, there was a struggle for Rus in the late game, especially. Chinese late game is something that has been, something to be feared since their inception, really. But nowadays, Rus, I think, can handle it way better than ever before. But we will find out as we load into game number 1 in the losers bracket. Wham faces LucifroN, who spawns in the north side of the map in the color green, playing as the Rus on EGC Gorge. And his opponent, Wham, or One of Canada's prides and joys, as the red Chinese in the south side of the map. And yeah, this matchup promises to be quite explosive in that mid game, which I'm really looking forward to. And also looking forward to specifically how Wham looks to answer the question of horse archers.
I absolutely love how you described Wham there. I'm like, I'm going to Canada. You know what I'm seeing over there? I'm going to see myself some Wham. Because Wham's, his playstyle is beautiful, guys. This guy knows what he's doing. But LucifroN, Myriad, you remember how deadly LucifroN used to be. He's been gone for a little while, but he's back. So I'm really hoping to see him give Wham a pretty good fight here.
Yeah, I mean, historically, LucifroN, much like his brother Vortex, has been known to be an unrelenting force of pressure in these games. Just the level of aggression that these two historically have dished out is second to no other Age of Empires 4 professional players. And, that's still been the case a lot nowadays. We had Vortex on earlier after his win mention how he feels he has become a lot more rounded recently, and that's something I definitely agree with from seeing him. LucifroN, however, as you mentioned, he's freshly back just a month or two ago from a hiatus, excited to play some of these tournaments. I spoke to him about it myself. He's really looking forward to do his best in these tournaments. As to whether he'll stick around after is something he hasn't determined yet. But LucifroN, I think he's been lagging just a little bit behind Vortex recently, which I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying. And it's true. I mean, obviously a break will do that to anyone, right? No matter how talented they are. Whereas I think historically he has been looking generally a little bit stronger than Vortex at their peaks. Now, how LucifroN comes back into form, we'll have to see. He has been struggling just a little bit recently, namely losing out on the Copenhagen LAN to CSO. However, he's looking to make his mark here after qualifying for EGC Masters Summer. And with Rus in game number 1 against Wham's Chinese, it's looking to be a really strong start for him.
Oh, definitely. And I'm so excited to see this. I was actually asking around about this matchup before because I'm an avid Rus player, but I don't win as much. But China is definitely a civilization that I struggle to do damage against. But once you do get on them, they really struggle to get back. Because I feel like with Rus, you just build such a tempo in castle that if China gives you a little bit of an opening, it does feel like you can overwhelm them pretty quickly. It's not like Zushi that you usually they strike back a little bit harder. Now on Gorge though, it does feel like a map that China can benefit from because you can easily make sure that your area is quite safe against horse archers and the map is kind of split. So just because you get on one side doesn't mean you're gonna easily be able to harass the other. So now I guess the early game that we all know and love, guys, we're going to be seeing what pro scouts are going to bring us. And for now, we can see Wham is not condoning any deer pushing. And this is something that's quite important if you are playing in this matchup. Because with Rus, they try to minimize their time that they're out there on the map trying to collect the deer. But that's how they just do deer pushing. But now with Wham killing off those, it just means those deer are going to be in a little bit more of an exposed point than they usually would be.
Exactly right. The main thing here for Rus and LucifroN is to get those 2 deer packs in ASAP, nice and safe, ideally without needing to make a single unit to defend them. That is why the deer pushing is so important. If you get your closest one in for free, then there's absolutely nothing stopping you from bringing in your second one easily and resulting in an even deer split, which both civs are going to be pretty happy with, of course, but especially Roos, as they can then race towards that castle age. However, with this first deer pack denied from being pushed in here by Wham, that means that LucifroN may need to invest into at least a couple of spears, or maybe archers potentially if Wham opens spears, just to make sure that he does bring back all of those deer safely, as we see Wham does prioritize those spears. So Wham definitely wants to deny these initial safe packs from LucifroN, and at least force him to invest in something here in the Feudal Age, because the longer this Feudal Age goes, the better it is for Wham at the end of the day. He can have a slightly better economic setup, he can get more value out of the Imperial officials, and not be as out-tempoed by that castle age as he would like, because the longer he has to prepare for those horse archers, the better he will be prepared for them, of course.
Now, denying the deer, I think, is critical, like you said. But the biggest problem here is when you're up against Rus, they easily come and steal your deer pack as well, especially with the amount of scouts they can get out. With Wham going for spears, he does not just stop that from happening, but he also will have that little bit of pressure out on the map, which is probably going to be critical in this scenario. Now, we do see pro scouts coming out from both, started at different times, but Wham being China, he's going to match that pretty quickly. Now, he's getting a horseman instead of making that scout that early. Now, this horseman is also going to try and allow him to just stop a little bit of that deer gathering on the side of LucifroN's base. And you can see that's exactly where that first spearman goes. He doesn't just try to protect his own deer. He's actually trying to shut down LucifroN's deer, which is a pretty massive move. Archer range instantly coming out. Pretty big value here for Rus. Because when you get that archer range out, your horse archers will benefit from this timing as well.
Yeah, I've got to say, I really enjoy Wham's approach here, right? Delaying his pro scouts, specifically to get some spears out, get a horseman out, put some pressure here on LucifroN, and not allow him to get away with the greed that he normally would like. We can see how hesitant LucifroN was to actually add in any units. Now, finally, being forced to overcompensate by adding an archer range and a barracks in turn. So definitely going to delay his timings a little bit somewhat here. Meanwhile, Wham is now moving with his own pro scouts in turn. And yeah, ooh, the scout just barely manages to get away there. Some DC fire does secure that spear, however.
And getting that spear down is pretty critical. The thing is, horsemen, they do well against those archers. The thing is, that's not just going to be a singular archer. That is going to be an annoying amount, which is just going to mean that he's going to be able to secure his deer pack. But we don't see green dots on the side of Wham's base, which is, I think, exactly what his goal was here. To just ensure that his deer are untouched. And if he picks up an archer along the way, that is a pretty massive situation for him as well. Now, he does get a scout in all this, and he might get another one, because we can see those scouts are mindlessly running to their own death. He does drop it just in time, but another scout does fall to the ground.
Yeah, this is really nice damage caused here by Wham. These might not be like the most cost-effective trades that he can hope for, but really, as long as he delays LucifroN as much as possible, without, you know, trading out too badly, securing his own deer pack behind it, and, you know, in an ideal world, you maybe steal away some of LucifroN's deer, but that's really hard to do in the current Pro Scouts meta because of how slow the scouts are. How slow the unit turnaround is. Obviously, you'd be fighting onto the opponent's side of the map, where they're going to have the advantage as well. And even China, with their supervision, can't always hope to match that. But delay has been caused, right? A few scouts went down, LucifroN's reinvesting. Even now going up to 7 scouts, which I would say is probably just a little bit overkill, I would argue. But he's probably not sure about the level of investment in units that Wham is still making at this point in time. Surprisingly, none of those scouts are actually actively scouting. We do see one, I think, starting to move across the map now, just there towards the southern side of the gorge. See what I did there? As a few more of the deer in the north are being now carried safely back home.
Now, he says safely, but there's a big red blob coming our way and a lot of archers coming out of Wham. Now, he doesn't have Song Dynasty yet, but that will just mean that he's not going to make so much Jiganu. But those archers that were rallied all the way, they did not expect to run into 6 Rus archers. And that, unfortunately, is going to be pretty expensive for Wham. But Wham behind this, he's going for castle himself, which, again, was not on my bingo card. I feel like China fast castle is not on many people's bingo cards. Now, we do see with all of this pressure coming through, He is able to keep that one scout on the bottom side to just see if anything else is coming his way, but it does look like the deer have been brought back, and the scouts are now idle under the TC. They have now decided they have worked enough. They will go for the high trade house, but LucifroN, he is going for a very exposed high trade house. Now, most of us who've played Rus or against Rus knows an annoying high trade house is one close to the TC, but that one is going to have deer running all around. So if Wham is pretty active in this, he might actually be able to punish it. Now, the question or the situation here for him is he doesn't have a lot on wood. So this is not going to be a Rus that pumps out horse archers from 3 stables like we usually see. And you can see he's instantly spending every bit of wood that he has as well. So we'll see what that answer is going to be. It just feels quite risky. Now Imperial Palace also coming on through.
It's interesting what you mentioned earlier about the Lost Castle for Chinese sakes. I think there is a world in which if the Rus does get greedy enough, China can actually keep up a relentless pressure and get a lot of damage done if the Rus is not careful, and especially if they have some exposed infrastructure, either some houses or maybe some production buildings on the front there. Some ramps can do very quick work of that one. Asia does come through though. High trade house, as you mentioned, in for LucifroN, and as you correctly highlighted, there was a bit of a slow turnaround time for the wood for LucifroN here. You can see it manifesting in the bank there. A bit too much food, a bit too much gold. No double broadaxe in for him yet, but it is going to be a night priority for LucifroN as well, curiously. Probably because of the sheer amount of archers on the field here already for Wham. So he's looking to really have an archer blob here to contest the initial horse archer mass, but very well responded by LucifroN, moving into knights as well. One stable on the field now, maybe a second one soon to be added as well.
Now you can see LucifroN's quite active on the map when it comes to scouting, but so is Wham. Wham scouts, you see red dots everywhere, and now with that first warrior monk coming out, he's going to be looking at picking up 1 or 2 of those relics, at least initially, but he sees this huge amount of archers, and this type of archer investment tells you that the knight was the correct choice. And now, having 3 more knights in queue, that's going to make this a little bit simpler for LucifroN. The problem is just he needs to secure a relic or 2, because that already was a pretty large investment. Double stable now, as we can see there, and on the other side, very similar composition. Very nice. And another archery range now being added. So now Wham, he is going to be doubling down on these archers, it seems. But with the lancers on his side too, he's going to be a happy camper. He does go for one of the relics that are it's quite aggressive. But, of course, you want to be able to go as deep as possible while bringing them safely home. Now, Wham, out on the map, does pick off yet another scout. And you can see Wham knows pretty much where everything is on the map. His vision, him, everything is just very aggressive. And he looks pretty confident in what he's doing.
Absolutely. Vision in this kind of a situation, especially with these cavalry units from LucifroN, with the relic war heavily underway, is the importance of that cannot be understated here for Wham. And Wham has great advantages with that. Not only the Tang Dynasty vision bonus on these scouts, but of course the Imperial Palace as well, revealing the entirety of LucifroN's economy at the press of a button here for Wham, on top of giving a tremendous amount of vision on that backline as well for him. I've got to say though, I think Wham has to be quite careful with his unit choices here. I mean, the Lancers, I think, initially can do great work here for Wham. I feel like it's not something you want to invest into too heavily, because not only do they not do great up against the horse archers from LucifroN, but of course, LucifroN's own knights are just superior to Wham's once that Boyar's Fortitude comes in just every way. So, nice little pickoffs there by LucifroN. Takes down some villages, maybe even an Imperial official. You know, a Lancer finding LucifroN's archers on the other flank from Wham here. The early crossbowmen are actually going to get picked off here if LucifroN notices and micros appropriately. And these early crossbows are very important to help stem the tide of these knights that are going to be coming in from LucifroN here. And it's like a few do go down, but not all of them. Relic secured now for Wham as well. Oh,
this looks like it could be a pretty fitting fight. Yeah, that was almost secured, definitely. Now, the villagers here, they do at least survive for now. It does look like the horse archers were quite pesky, but it does look like a pretty good connection is about to come through here, Myriad. And I don't know if the lancers are going to be enough, especially with the amount of archers we have. We have LucifroN with a very mobile army. He doesn't mind sacrificing those archers, but he is going to be able to kite and pivot from here. So right now, I think LucifroN is in a pretty good spot, although Wham has +2. And +2 can never be understated. LucifroN, though, he plans to get 4 relics. So that's a pretty good position to be in, I would say.
100%. I mean, already the Rus passive gold income in that late game exceeds China's if we just count purely hunting cabins, high trade house, as well as taxes. Rus just severely outdoes it, really, when it comes to that. However, in this mid game especially, securing 4 relics already, great spot for LucifroN to be in. And this composition, I think, is really going to favor him as well in the long term. I mean, Wham, I really want to say that he needs some horsemen to start blobbing and deal with these horse archers, combined with a backline of crossbows. That's a composition that can do quite effectively up against this knight horse archer combo from LucifroN. Of course, you still have to be so careful with your fights and with your mobility disadvantage. Wham has good things going for him, though. He does have the Barbican now up in that northern side, securing the berries as well as the boar behind it somewhat, and gives him an angle towards that large stone vein as well. And he's now getting some of his equal gears. Wheelbarrow coming in for him, but meanwhile, Boyar's Fortitude on the way here for LucifroN, and Steel Darrow as well. It's a double blacksmith played, which means he's looking for a pretty hardcore timing here, Whammon.
And what I absolutely love about this is how even this looks. Wham and LucifroN being neck and neck in absolutely every manner possible, except for the relics, of course. So this definitely speaks to how precise both of these players are. And exactly, oh my goodness, look at all those berry gatherers. That is going to be a very depleted berry patch, but the knights have found a connection. We see them getting on top, and now the horse archers are going to be able to be that mobile unit I talked about. They're going to be able to kite forward and pick things off. Now, all of a sudden, it does not look that close.
No, Wham gets caught with his pants down, his ranged mass exposed at the front of his base, allowing a clear way for LucifroN's Knight Mass to charge in, and the Horse Archers to deal tremendous damage as well. Lancer connection from the back will push LucifroN away for now, but that's definitely a fight that he's more than happy with at this point in time. Having the eco lead as well in this position as Rus, despite the Imperial officials, despite the Song Dynasty, is something he's definitely more than happy with right now. And Wham is still building archers, still building lancers, but I just don't think these are the units that he needs, frankly, anymore. He just needs more crossbows and horsemen to be able to stem this tide, but with the food running out, makes me wonder whether it's a little too late. The upgrade advantage is going to be slowly matched here by LucifroN. He only needs Steel Darrow level 2 to have the same amount, and of course, Boyar's Fortitude is in at this point as well. LucifroN is on the cards to make a ball play, but there is a well-positioned scout there by Wham to spot that. However, I don't think Wham's in much of a position to actually stop it.
Yeah, this is a pretty tough spot to be in. Like you said, with the food, everything just feels like it's snowballing from here on out. The knights now, they don't care about those archers. There's a few crossbows in the mix as well, but it just does not feel like enough. The horse archers, though, they're face tanking a little bit of that TC fire. And as we know, the Chinese TC, it fires pretty heavily. Now, it does push him back, but that villager lead is significant already. Now, keep in mind, as you guys know, Wham is China in Song Dynasty, so he's probably going to recover with the count. But the problem is, the resources will not replenish themselves, and this is going to be a very tough transition if he does get there. Now, it does look like that Wolf and Boar are both fighting for the same cause to not be slayed today, but he does go for the ball, which means Wham knows that he's out there on the map. He could potentially try and do a little bit of raiding, but you can see LucifroN is aware that he's aware. So he does make it a few towers to make sure that those units do not get picked off. Now, again, the horse archers with their mobility, they're pouncing on forward.
And the message is does not favor Wham whatsoever. Not only is he behind in army count, but this is mass premium cavalry coming in here from LucifroN. The army value more than double at this point in time for LucifroN as he just dives relentlessly. Saint's Blessing aura coming in as well, buffing all of these knights, all of these horse archers. Wham has little left in the tank and he knows it. GG is cold as LucifroN takes game number 1.
This must feel pretty good, because that felt pretty convincing for Mr. LucifroN here. Wham has been at the top of his game for a while, so LucifroN snagging a win this quickly from Wham must feel good. We know that he was on 4 relics here. I know our graphic does not exactly show that, but guys, this man, he was snacking on gold. He was ready. And that's the thing about Rus right now, right? So with Rus, you're just in a position where you get all this passive gold from your high trade house. You don't even need to touch your gold. And this puts you in a pretty good position to just stay on the resources that matter, that will actually allow you to produce units. And that military value lead, it feels like an exponential graph. It is absolutely disgusting.
I want to say it's really intriguing to watch LucifroN slowly de-rust and get himself back after his hiatus. Every series I watching him since his first one, I remember, was in Knights of Cross and Rose, actually, after the DLC. That was his first tournament, I think, being back. Every series after that, he just looks sharper and better, regaining his former form. And it culminates to this point now in the elimination bracket of EGC Masters of Summer, where, I mean, he has a very tough opponent ahead of him in the form of Wham. And taking game number 1 here with a great pick up against a really strong pick as well from Wham in the form of Chinese. That's got to be such a good win here for LucifroN, and it definitely is. Wham, however, with a bravery, takes us in game number 2 to Scandinavia. And I mean, we know how these brothers, well, the Spanish brothers, are on water maps, Wham, and this is a brave choice from Wham, but the matchup is good for him.
And we heard it from Vortex just now. For those of you guys who don't know, these two are brothers. They live close to the beach. We talked about this. It's in their blood. They were born in the water, and we've seen them for years now, just dominating water maps. So Wham, a very brave man to be going up against LucifroN like here. But the thing is, Wham is also decent on water. We haven't seen Scandinavia as much as we'd like, but it does feel like a good taste of the water, especially with how Mongols plays this as well. I think a lot of people have seen Mongol being extra spicy here. This is also the map that we might see fast Imperial. Against Japan, it might be a little bit harder though. Ladies and gents, we're about to roll on in. So, Mongol versus Japan.
It is game number 2 in EGC Masters Summer elimination bracket here, as we find ourselves on Scandinavia, with Wham taking us here in the color red as the Mongols spawning in the northern side of the map. Looking to equalize against his opponent, the Spanish Bull, LucifroN, spawning in the south side of the map as the Japanese in the color green. And good choice as well here from Wham, right? Sniping the Japanese with the Mongols, historically a very tough matchup for the Japanese. They struggle a bit with that early tempo from the Mongols, not only in the Dark Age historically, but also in that Feudal Age. The double production of what is initially superior archers here for Wham, as well as those Keshiks, historically heavy cavalry, something Japanese really struggles with in the Feudal Age. A lot of things going for the Mongols in this matchup, and especially on this kind of a map. I mean, historically, it's very hard for Japanese to get a foothold on water because of that Dark Age. That has changed somewhat recently, however. The cheaper barracks, easier ability to mass spears for the Japanese means that they have been able to put up more of a fight than before. But often, I think, they still find themselves struggling in this matchup in particular. And on a map like this, there's so many ways this can go, Emin.
I think we just missed it, but guys, there was a sheep kill right there, where the Khan was about to pick up that sheep, and LucifroN was like, no, you're not. And he just killed the sheep there at the south of the gold. Beautiful play there by that Japanese villager. We do see this little picture-in-picture as that dock being built, guys. Look how majestic it is. Wow. That villager, he's going straight for the fish. Now, LucifroN, though, he is not looking at water just yet. And we'll see now if this is going to be the Cocker Township, because Cocker Township has been usually the choice on these types of maps, because it does allow you to get ahead on the water and take control of an eco that might run away from you as Wham, and that's exactly what we see. Now, Wham going for a dock, I'm actually a little bit surprised, because I know that very often Mongol does not go for a dock in Dark Age. I say this, but it's just because out of tournament games, we have seen Mongols delay that a little bit. Now, Wham does need to macro up to Castle Age, but he's doing that, or Castle Age, Feudal Age, pretty quickly. We do see that he's getting his gold as needed. It does look like there's about 2 villages on gold based on the income there, but we'll see if the Cocker Township is going to be there fast enough to stop that dock from doing anything. Because now you're putting yourself in a position where the Cocker Township, it's going to pop out a Shinobi. It's going to send it out to your dock, and your dock is going to get sabotaged. You are not going to be able to get a unit out of that dock to actually defend it in time. So this does feel kind of snowballing when you are the Mongol player here. So I would love to see how Wham follows this up and actually makes this work, because LucifroN alternatively could just go to the other water and try to dock there. But of course, with your Shinobis, you want to punish your opponent for going on water themselves.
Absolutely, and that snowball effect is something that can really put a hurt in the long run here against Wham if he's not careful. His own age up is going to follow suit pretty quickly, but an understated advantage here for the Mongols is going to be that Khan. The Khan, you can see already, even as the Vil makes his way towards the dock, this level of damage is not significant, but it's very, very annoying. And in combination with the villager, it means that this villager is definitely not getting a dock up, so he will have to wait for the shinobi, which does take a while to pop out and then make his way here as well, by which time Wham may already be up in the Feudal Age and may also have a second dock down as well. We'll have to see. And also on this map, I mean, there's two sides to the water. It's like Holy Island with two sides almost, so denying all sides with the shinobi is going to be pretty difficult, I think, and might force you to invest into even more shinobi than you would normally like. And the villager, a second one, is following suit to try to secure this dock, and the shinobi behind it will make sure that happens. I don't think Wham's villager is long to survive. Yeah, Shunshin comes in, one hit, only two more needed, and yeah, it's definitely going to go down.
That is a pretty tough spot for Mr. Wham here, because as we can see, there's not a lot of wood coming in on LucifroN's side. The Master of the Sea says, actually, I'm just going to be making shinobis. 3 shinobis, that is a pretty hefty investment. They aren't cheap. 4 shinobis, excuse me. But this Khan is doing work. You can see that villager, he's on his last legs, but he will be able to finish his dock. And now the shinobi has more dead villagers on his mind, and I don't know if he'll be able to catch another one, but the Khan definitely will. Oh, never mind. Oh my goodness, the scout is destroying him, that poor Khan.
Yeah, the scout actually does more damage to the Khan than the Khan does to it. Like, if they both stand still, the scout will actually win in this Feudal Age up against the Khan. However, the dock, yeah, galley did get queued up on that side, actually. I was wondering where that galley was queued up. So Wham abandons this right side pond entirely. Probably the right choice. He wasn't able to get up that second dock as he undoubtedly wanted to, so instead he's going to opt to pivot to the left side. And as long as he can keep LucifroN off of that pond, which may be easier said than done with so many shinobis on the field, then at least the food income will end up being even in the long run. Villager does go down to the Khan in the end, who then speeds away with the arrow boost.
Oh, how sneaky of that Khan, just to get in, get out, speed away. Disgusting. But now, with him getting the water back, you can see that singular galley, he is committed to getting the water going, because there's fishing boats on there. And I mean, when you lose a bunch of fishing boats on that side, this must not feel that good for Wham, because this is just a difficult position to put yourself into. You've invested 210 just in fishing boats. So it does feel like a pretty big investment to lose, especially when your opponent hasn't had to give up anything. He's got 4 shinobis on the field, he hasn't lost any of them, and he's going to be able to do more damage. It's not a situation where these guys have gone to waste completely. And your fishing boats, they're going to be the next targets on there, so even if you do redock, you're going to have a pretty hard time to make this worth it. Now, the second dock does come down for Wham, but LucifroN has the same idea.
Yes, I think if this dock goes up here for LucifroN, then Wham is in a world of hurt. He has no hope of contesting the right side pond. So if he now gets contested on this left-hand pond with those shinobis, then, you know, just a few sabotages will make Wham's life so difficult here. It does seem like the galley might be moving into position, if I'm not mistaken, and there are Mangudai on the field for Wham as well, so the shinobi will not be able to find as much damage as they would like eventually, and the dock does get denied, and this is really important here for Wham. He needs to prevent any kind of dock here from LucifroN, because when it comes to a water fight, even though he might not, you know, lose it entirely, it just forces him to invest. Meanwhile, while LucifroN invests into fishing ships on the other pond, so it's a losing game in the long run for him, even if he trades fine up against the enemy ships in the naval battles. That galley, currently the MVP for Wham.
The problem is that singular galley, it is the only military ship he's got. And those shinobis, there's a lot more than one. So they get to deny those docks, and those docks are not producing any other military ships. He does get the villager, but now there are 2 docks for 1 galley to deny. So LucifroN does lose a bit of a shinobi here, and this is the usual playstyle we see out of Mongols. They go for a few Mangudai, and then all of a sudden you have a lot more problems on your field because now all of a sudden they're fast Imperial and you have no way of shutting them down. So it does feel like LucifroN did a good amount of damage, but is it enough to deny that fast in Mongols? Now the galley does come back for another villager kill, but LucifroN has taken 5 vills down himself, and I know 3 of those fishing boats, but it definitely still matters. We do see at the bottom there, he's only on 1 dock on LucifroN's side. So we'll see if Wham can actually do some damage here.
Yeah, I'd have to say it's a slightly modest investment into fishing ships here for LucifroN, right? I would have loved to see a little bit more just to pad his food income, especially having chosen to go for the Koka township, is that there's no Kura storehouse to generate free farms behind this. So he'll be reliant on that fishing income for a while, needing to expedite it hopefully here. But he is on his way to the castle age. The Mangudai do go in directly, not caring about the tower at all. One villager instantly goes down. Second one to follow suit. Nice macro here by LucifroN on the tower. Just to jump in and out. That's very important to do in these kind of situations to save the villagers. Very quick with it as well. Does cost some of the Mangudais their life, but idle time caused. Damage done. And Wham knows what LucifroN is planning now.
Oh, he spotted it. I mean, Wham now. Everyone knows what he was planning. But the thing about LucifroN is you don't know when Japanese switches over. With that information, you do. So those mounted samurais, they do pretty well when it comes to tower diving, though. The problem is they're quite expensive. And it doesn't feel like he's going to be given the space to make those expensive units with the amount of units we see here from Wham. Just getting that one Keshik also is going to force LucifroN to be a little bit more reactive. And not in a way that he wants to. The Shinobi going down... And he did not get a villager there. We do see 6 villagers dead from Wham's side now, so he definitely caught up here. Another villager going down. And this must feel pretty good. LucifroN, though, he did manage to dock that lake. And we do see a galley not paying too much attention. And all of a sudden, this is a pretty scary pond to be on. And Wham is going to have to invest on this lake.
Yeah, exactly. Just a single springboard ship with now galleys being queued up as well for LucifroN. Definitely going to be really annoying here for Wham in this position as he himself is trending towards that castle age with the resources now half needed in the bank. LucifroN, however, is about to click up any moment now using likely that floating gate. But there's a decent military presence here from Wham. There's only Mangudai, however, mainly. Only 1 Keshik, so it's not like diving is much of an option here for LucifroN. And you can see his, his fear somewhat about a potential dive and investment here from Wham. A second tower now going up. He fears the potential of a Keshik dive with no spears of his own to defend in turn. And LucifroN, floating gate on the way up. The name of the game surely must be Mounted Samurai here.
Getting Mounted Samurai on this map is going to be so nice because the map, again, very, very open. And Wham, he's going to be reliant on... I would honestly say he's going to need to be reliant on those outside resources for a bit because this is not a lake that he's got for free. They are ships. He's going to need to work for this. You can see Mongols, usually they can match pretty well what their opponent is doing when it comes to hitting Castle Age. But LucifroN, he just looks like he wants to shut this down before it becomes a problem. Those Mangudai running around trying to find some damage, but now 2 Mounted Samurai in queue. And those Mangudai are just not finding the damage they need. But beautiful, beautiful hit here by that demo ship. And that Springald ship might go down in a few moments.
Yeah, nice optimal hit there on the Springald ship by the demo. Secures the takedown by Wham's own Springald ship. Yeah, and realistically, there was not much LucifroN was going to do on that pond. Just a bit of a delay, a bit of idle time on the fishing ships, the best you could hope for, because he's going castlage behind it, right? If you wanted to take full control of that pond, you would have definitely stayed in Feudal for a while longer. But we do see 2 Mounted Samurai in the field already, a 3rd one in queue, and these are going to start moving across the map. Wham's still a decent way away from castle, only now preparing to drop the landmark himself. But he has a respectable military force, right? 2 Keshiks, some Mangudai. They're gonna stem the tide of the initial few Mounted Samurai at least. And actually, it's gonna be Kurutai before him on the way.
Does this mean we don't get fast Imperial? No, I'm actually pretty happy to see this. Never mind. Never mind, guys. We got excited for no reason.
He's like, what am I doing?
I'm playing Mongols, dude.
Yeah, I guess he deems it a little bit of a mistake, and I gotta agree. I mean, sure, you have food income, but foregoing that gold income is not much of an option in this position. You don't have trade or anything like that, right? And I think in the Castle Age, you know, even with the Kurotai, Mongols, I think, would really struggle up against these mounted samurai. So ideally, Wham just wants to get up a bunch of crossbows, maybe some spears here, some emplacement on some towers here at the front for the gold, and then he can start going towards that Imperial Age. But LucifroN is quick on the draw here, right? There's already mounted samurai diving, preventing even the Castle Age up, so he's not gonna get imp as freely as he might hope.
The thing is, that is almost finished, and I feel like Wham is about to double down here and say like, hey, I'm just gonna pull the villagers and go for it. If he cancels this is such valuable time. And he does pull the last few villagers, trying to get this thing up, but at what cost? Myriad, there's so many dead vills. Behind this as well, 50 dead villagers now. Some of them were fishing boats as well, but this is a destruction. A lot of dead vills. LucifroN very happily on the water on his side as well, and it does not look like he's going to stop. More mounted samurai in queue. He is not going to let you go to Imperial for free. Another mounted samurai, he's just taking Mangadai fire right now. With +1 range defense, he is able to do so.
Yeah, that's a crippling amount of damage caused there by LucifroN, right? So much hurt put on just on the Castle Age up here from Wham. Never mind the Imperial Age up, which is starting to look like a bit of wishful thinking at this point in time for Wham. He does stabilize somewhat though. A lot of the mounted samurai did go down as well for those villagers, so LucifroN has to reinvest here. Now the Yumi are on the way for him as well, and Wham senses this somewhat, right? I mean, we see men-at-arms being added in for him, which should serve as a decent front line, but no real solid answer to these mounted samurai just yet. Yeah, the crossbows are now in queue. It makes sense. Wham does love his crossbows, and those are going to be the unit of choice here. And Wham really has a bit of work to do to stabilize this position with that frontal goal if he wants to get Imperial Age, because the longer this fighting goes on, the better it is for LucifroN.
LucifroN is definitely feeling quite comfortable in this position, because with the amount of units that he can pump out here with that water eco, he is in a pretty decent spot. And we can see Wham is just idling on that gold non-stop. This is not a position you want to be in as the Mongols, and your opponent is sucking up all the relics from the map. He's just walking around picking up everything he wants. But Wham investing in all these military units, it does slow down that Imperial Age, but it shows he knows how to be responsible about going imp. A lot of players, they feel like, oh, I'm going imp, I don't need anything. I'm thinking about Numidan here. And sometimes it works, but Wham, he's aware of these risks that he could be taking. And when you're already on match point with LucifroN holding that power, you do not want to take that risk. You know what the safer move is, and that's making some units at least. But we do see that Imperial Age edging just a little bit closer as time goes on.
Yeah, it's definitely edging for sure for Wham as well at this point in time. I mean, he has half the food needed. The gold is there already, but that's a lot of food to muster up. And, you know, you don't have the crazy food income to just keep producing units while getting closer to imp as well. So Wham, yeah, I mean, he's dancing this line, right? Yes, a fair bit in the bank. He wants to go imp, but he also recognizes the threat that he can't let himself just die if he goes imp. So he decides to push across now, gauge the level of investment from LucifroN, see how well of a fight he can take. To be fair, the army looks pretty good here from Wham. There's not that many Yumi, not that many mounted samurai to the point where it's oppressive. And just taking that little good scuffle there might be enough for Wham to go in. But as I say that, sneaky raid on the woodline.
He might still be able to go imp, but it would not be as difficult for him to maintain imp with that big mass of his. He did lose a significant amount of units. The Shinobi follow-up is absolutely brilliant here by LucifroN, just making sure that he has one more Shinobi on the field to actually try and do some damage, constantly raiding. Wham is about to click this up, and then the RNG gods are just going to be watching and seeing what we get for Mr. Wham. But now he's got enough gold in the bank. We'll see the food trickle in a sec. But are those mounted samurais ready to dive under the TC to stop this? Because we see +2 coming in, Myriad. And LucifroN strikes me as the kind of guy who will definitely dive under your TC to get things done. The thing is just, Wham seems prepared for this.
Yeah, there's definitely a timing here that LucifroN is waiting for. Ideally, he strikes right as that Kagura Palace is like halfway done. Just as those villages are building, as they're getting idled out, that's the optimum time to strike. But there's no scout for LucifroN. He will not be able to see this unless he already commits. I'm curious of the level of Springo towers in Wham's base. I think that's quite important to see here. Because although he has a pretty solid army, I don't think it's actually enough to contest this fully invested composition from LucifroN here. One tower is up, but it's only arrow slits, so that will not last for very long. Yeah, Wham knows he might be in a bit of trouble here. He's rushing another outpost on this wood line, but it's not up yet. He doesn't have the stone for a cannon emplacement either, if he so chooses to go for it. Kagura Palace is about to finish here. So see, LucifroN doesn't want to commit too much, but the imp is now in. He knows that the lights are green to go. However, the mass from Wham is looking pretty damn good here, even with the upgrade advantage that LucifroN has. And he doesn't have much of an angle to strike, putting actually so many villages trying to dock.
He knows that this is something he needs to shut down, and RN Jesus was watching. He got Palace Guards, Myriad. This is such a good first set of units to get, and LucifroN knows, if I let this go, I am going to die. So with the Mounted Samurais, he's trying to take the fight. He's focus firing every crossbow he can, trying to make sure that these Mounted Samurai live to fight another day, but there's not a lot of them left. The problem is, Wham also doesn't have a lot left. Now, the Palace Guards could not be coming any quicker, but those towers are barely making a dent in these units. Now, the numbers, they thin out a little bit, but that may just be for now. It does look like LucifroN is still investing. He does not have enough food to keep this pump going, but he's still getting military upgrades as well, and now the Palace Guards are going to be swinging. And unfortunately, LucifroN does need to back off. But at the same time, we see LucifroN being LucifroN. He is just absolutely raining havoc down on this eco as well.
Yeah, great damage on the flanks found there by LucifroN. But the food is such a problem right now for LucifroN. He cannot keep the pump up fast enough. He needs to fix his macro here in this game. I mean, 1.5 thousand wood, 1100 gold as well. It's a real problem here for LucifroN. Imagine if most of that was converted to food. He would have double to almost triple the units he has right now. It's a real issue, and I wonder if that miss macro might be a problem that costs him this game and this timing here in the second game, as we see Bautran on the way for Wham as well, just to fully secure that water. He might even opt for a counter-dock play on LucifroN's own pond and go for a Bautran there as well, which would be pretty tough for LucifroN to answer for sure in the Castle Age. And LucifroN, he's reinvesting somewhat, but the army counts are not looking in his favor at all.
It seems like LucifroN is going to be struggling against this push from Wham that is inevitable. We can see he got 2 loads of warrior monks, which is not usually the best situation to be in, but when your units are this damaged, I honestly feel like it could have been worse. Now, this feels pretty safe for him, having 4 of those. He's going to be able to heal up that army that is slightly damaged. But LucifroN, behind this, he went for a farm transition. We saw him get the TC upgrade. He's slowly making farms around the TC. Mangadai, the elite variety, also joining the fight. But now towers from LucifroN too. The thing is, when you're up against Mongols, they get a few units, they get ahead, and then they get a quick repel and make your life even harder. And it doesn't look like LucifroN can actually break through these towers that have now secured those villages on all the rest of the golds.
Yeah, the towers combined with the Bautran there means that that position is off limits for any raiding here for LucifroN. And I think the timing and the window has closed here for LucifroN in game number 2. There, he just wasn't able to find the damage needed. I think, I mean, the Cognate is going to keep working overtime. We now see elite crossbows on the way in for Wham as well. The army numbers are going to keep swelling. I mean, he got double Palace Guard and now triple Warrior Monk behind this, which are actually very capable fighting units as well in Imperial Age like this. And on top of it, they'll be buffing the army for Wham as well. So, you know, the most possible outcome, these are really, really good rolls that Wham has had on the Gamba of Kagana Palace. And LucifroN, I mean, he's trying to get his own Imperial Age behind this. It's kind of clear as day, but I do not see him surviving a concentrated push here from Wham.
Definitely not. With this amount of units that you have, it just feels like an inevitable death push. You can see the kiting, the Khan, everyone's just yelling, and LucifroN is about to be when he gets that push coming his way. Let's see what he goes for with. Now, the gunsmith has been the choice. Yes, I was going to say it's been the usual choice. And 23 building it as well. He wants this, and he wants this now. Now, with the gold that he has in the bank, is this somewhere where you just prioritize the Yumi and hope they can just shoot like rockets at the enemy and keep you in this game? Or what is your comeback mechanic here?
I feel like that's kind of the only choice you have, really. I mean, you have 24 of them on the field. The economy from LucifroN is not looking all that healthy. I mean, it's a bit better than Wham's by a few hundred, but we got to keep in mind the Kagana Palace is 700 to 900 resources of your army passively every single minute as well for him. I mean, it is going to be Yumi upgrade here. Steel Arrow level 3 coming in for him as well. I think it's called Plate Cutter Point, if I'm not mistaken. But he will need incendiary arrows behind this as well to really put up a hurt against these men-at-arms, which have now obtaining elite status as well as these Palace Guard, combined with Warrior Monks doing a good job to tank as well. This is going to be a hard push to hold here for LucifroN, and gold access is going to become a real struggle for him very soon.
Oh, and he's hoping to get this up. Ooh, the Khan firing arrows all the way from China. He knows how important it is to get control of this lake, because this is LucifroN's last hope of staying in this. He does lose a villager or two in this case, but the warrior monks have served their purpose. He's got 6 of them, and they are healing up everything they need to. The problem is LucifroN does not have anything he can make to ensure that this is a safe region for him, not with that economy difference. Now the Yumis is trying to move forward and trying to take a semblance of a good fight that they could. Maybe the only moment they might be able to, knowing that this army is completely split. It does look like the tower gets denied, just barely. But this army is pretty scary here at the front.
It's very, very scary. And LucifroN, when I see, wait, did I see that right? Is that one of, what is it, Atakebune, the Japanese Imperial ship? That's quite a way to spend so many resources, I have to say. It's, I mean, not to break anyone's hearts, but it's notably weaker than the Baochans and even Carracks for that matter, unfortunately. We'll have to see how well it does on that water. But I mean, LucifroN, the plan is clear, right? With his limited gold access, the only real thing he can invest into here is going to be mass Yumi and the additional upgrades that follow them. That's kind of the only thing he can afford. When you're gold starved like this, you essentially just have to pick one unit that you fully upgrade and fully commit to it to try to break through and then re-secure gold and move into a more rounded composition. But Wham has all the right answers here. He has the elite men-at-arms, the elite palace guards, crossbows behind this with a very mixed composition as well. I mean, we can see the Kagana Palace allowing that 3 lines of unit variance on the UI there. And incendiary arrows on the way for him as well, which is something that LucifroN is just foaming at the mouth to be able to afford, but it will not be the case as Wham decides enough is enough. I have what I need to end this fully, as he dives directly past the Daimyo Castle there, moving underneath the TC, underneath the tower. The Yumi, with their superior mobility, are going to kite for their lives and for the life of their master in this game, as LucifroN looks to make a desperate final stand here in game number 2, but Wham smells the blood, smells the victory, looking to secure himself this game and take it all the way the length to that game number 3. But yeah, it's just too much quality here for Wham, too much income, trade behind this as well. It's too much to withstand. Villages running and dying left, right and center. GG is called 1-1.
And this feels like such a tough spot for any player to be in, because you feel like the moment that Mongols ages up, there's no coming back. And you guys can see the military value lead. This was something that LucifroN put up a decent fight against, but Wham, he was responsible. And I think this is something we haven't seen much of in Mongols, understanding exactly how much you need to invest to actually stay alive against a push such as this. So beautifully played here by Wham, but also LucifroN putting up a pretty amazing fight here. He denied some of the villagers, but it just feels like the Kaghanet is in a pretty good spot at the moment. And I actually asked Beastie about the nerf that's coming into the Kaghanet, just ensuring that you have that 10% decrease on the speed. He is not convinced that it's enough. How is the general consensus on this? And I guess I'm asking this to Twitch chat as well, but I know that all of you guys are basically semi-pro players. With the Kaghanet Palace, is this something that needs a lot harder of a shutdown, or is this just something that people are going to need to learn to counter?
I think the nerf on the production speed in and of itself is not enough to offset the strength. No, normally the issue isn't how fast the units come out. It's more so that if the landmark is up, it's normally an uphill battle anyway, really. But what I'm curious to see is that with the decrease in dare pushing, whether that in turn will weaken it quite a bit as well, right? Because to go imp as Mongols, you need a lot of food. You can't just go naked imp and hope it survives. I think, against a decent player, you'll actually die every single time doing that pretty much. If you just go naked as fast as possible. And with limited food access, especially if you have no access to dare, no fishing, no boar, nothing like that, it's just not something that's going to work. That is why we see Mongols, when they do dominate, it is often on these maps where they have access to a lot of food, either through fishing, like here on Scandinavia, or even on a map like Carmel, courtesy of something like Pro Scouts, which is something they don't do as well anymore, but on Carmel, it's very easy to do for a lot of civilizations, including them, and they have decent bonuses for it as well. They can double produce scouts. So, with the ability to dare push with Dark Age space for Mongols potentially removed, that in combination with the production speed nerf may actually be enough to offset its superior strength on these hybrid maps, especially. But we'll have to see.
Now, we'll see what that next matchup is going to look like, as guys, Frisian Marshes with Lancaster we saw a little bit earlier today against JD. Myriad, if you are a betting man, and I'm not saying you are a betting man, but if you were a betting man, where do you land on JD actually shutting down Lancaster?
I think JD honestly might be the best civilization in the game at having a chance of putting real pressure onto House of Lancaster in the feudal age. House of Lancaster, often this is something we sort of speculated on a while back before testing it as to, sure, Lancaster, we were discussing, it's really strong once you get those manners online, but if they agree, just kill them in feudal age, right? Like, hey, it's that easy. It's not that easy. It's not that easy to kill them in feudal age. Even if they agreed for those 6 manners, right? You have muster the nobles, you have yeomen, you have the spearmen, even hobblars just to shut off any archers can be so effective. And because of that, doing an all-in with Rams is, especially because of how tanky those manners are underneath that Lancaster castle, it's so difficult. However, JD Whammon is arguably the best feudal civilization in the game, I would say.
Now, we got a little statistic in front of us here, and it looks like Mr. Wham significantly has an edge here in terms of series. But if you guys look at those recent results, those are best of 5s. So best of 3s, they definitely have a different taste to them. And the game count is pretty close between these two anyway. So Wham looking strong, but we'll see if LucifroN can muster enough. I guess Wham is the one mustering. If Wham can muster his way through to the next round, into getting into the safe best of 5s. Now, we do see the lobby is still in creation. So I would actually like to ask if we can look at the bracket to see where everyone else is standing. Oh, we can. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love this. I love not doing production. Guys, look at this beautiful bracket. Myriad. Where do we land here? Who takes this whole scenario? If we're looking at Marine Lord Puppy Ball, this is probably going to be a very stacked match. I'm so excited for that.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be like it's a clash of big rivals at this point in time, isn't it? Similarly, like Marine Lord and Beastie, Marine Lord and Puppy. I mean, notably, of course, Puppy Paw, the finalist in the Red Bull Wololo, went up against Marine Lord all the way to Spain, and did not quite have the success she was hoping for. But still, Puppy Paw, just an incredibly skilled and feared player for a long time now, and coming back in force in this tournament, taking down Anatan 2-0, not an easy achievement whatsoever. And here we see the low bracket where we are right now. Wham and LucifroN neck and neck at 1-1. Beastie Baltune is going to be coming up as well. Anatan Voldemar will be facing, and B and them are actually tied neck and neck as well. Such tight series.
Yeah, this is quite competitive, and I absolutely love to see how these players are just shining. We see a lot of players like Numidan now joining the bracket for the first time and actually taking a game off of Demu, but Voldemar taking down CSO, that's phenomenal. It's actually showing us that when you get outside the top 4 to 6, there's still so much competition between these guys. And Baltoon also 2-0 in Kiljardy. I'm actually quite surprised that Grandpa could not take down the Tuna. Grandpa has been known to be a very aggressive player as well. For those guys who don't know, we always make fun of Kiljardy for being the grandpa in our community. So it's a pretty good way to see that we still have all our golden oldies at the top every now and again, and the young blood, they're fighting for their lives. But I'm really happy to see it. So a lot of us in this community, I would call us the boomers of the current era. So Myriad, you're one of the newer crew, I would say. Do you think that the younger players like MSN and Voldemar and that you guys are going to have a point where this does overtake all the grandpas like Beastie, Marine Lord, Demu, and Kiljardy?
Yes, it's already starting. I think all of you oldies are on a timer, and it's only a matter of time till we, the young blood, take over. It's one of those things, right? Where it's something that's really common in pretty much all esports, right? As the years go by, there's a kind of generational shift that happens. It's just something that's normal, and people have different peaks, right? Obviously, age is an advantage. Like being younger is an advantage in any sport. Esports is no different. You know, the strengths of youth, so to say, but then you lack the experience and the wisdom that older players often do. However, people have different peaks, right? Some people play very well in their early 30s, then play better in their 30s than they did in their 20s. Some players do better in their 20s than they did in their 30s, right? It's very different for everyone. Life circumstances come into effect as well. It's tough to say. We'll just have to see how committed we all are, right?
Well, I'm really glad to see we get to experience the players at these different levels. And honestly, when we do see people like MSM also coming in and absolutely destroying his way through these brackets, it just shows us that there's a lot of opportunity for Age of Empires to just keep that talent shifted. And yeah, I'm honestly still waiting to peak. So I would really like that to kick in at some point. Otherwise, we're always going to be where we are. But now we do have the maps in front of us today, and I want you guys to now see these are the consistent maps that players keep picking, because of course you have your major map pool that everyone has an opinion on, but there are some that people just constantly vote in. I think those we would look at is Frisian Marshes and Gorge. I think Scandinavia is more of a, what should I can do kind of map that people do bring in here. So with something like Frisian Marshes, I just want to ask you, Myriad, specifically, why do you think this is such a consistent choice among the top players?
You mean as a map to to pick to play or as a favorite map
Yes.
for tournaments. It's
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of expression possible on this map, you know. I mean, I think the backwood line especially allows some room for plays that otherwise might be considered greedy or out of the box. Normally, early pressure against something like frontal wood can be really detrimental to any kind of booming element, especially. That's not the case here at all. And that's been the case historically on Frisian, right? You see picks that otherwise wouldn't be as strong on other maps, sort of like English, like Abbasid, right? Even slightly more boom-oriented China, doing quite well, and obviously the Lancaster as well. These civs that have a slower build-up, when they do have safe resources available, is something they can really use to their advantage without dying. And the result, you know, that's also been impacted by the reduction in the amount of sheep as well on the map, means that, you know, civs that just have so much food to work with can't just keep barreling you constantly with units and doing too well. But that kind of barreling is what we're really going to see in this matchup. So I think this promises to be incredibly exciting. I mean, LucifroN, historically the Knight King, a title that's recently been contested by CSO, who has been eliminated, very well done so by Voldemar in an earlier round. So only LucifroN is left with that title at this point in time. And I mean, LucifroN on JD on this map with Fish, I think Wham is probably shaking in his boots a little bit.
Because JD and French, they've been civilizations that kind of handle the fire from Lancaster quite well. It's because the knights are extra chunky, and I can just imagine that does contribute to the ability to shut down all those thousands of manners in front of us. So I am excited to see exactly what LucifroN brings, and if that aggression is going to be enough, ladies and gents, it's time for us to go into the next one. So let's hop on in. I think.
Ooh, just in time, eh? As we are on EGC Frisian Marshes here. Yep, after a little bit of a delay, we are in game number 3 here in the lower bracket of EGC Masters Summer. We are witnessing LucifroN playing as Jeanne d'Arc, spawning in the western side of the map, facing Wham in the color red as the House of Lancaster. And already LucifroN is wasting no time. He wants to get that superior food in ASAP. Not very surprising, actually. I mean, dock play, actually. That I did not have on my bingo card, at least for JD.
I think for our LAN, we definitely need to have a community bingo card, because this one, we are missing so many bingos here. Docks, at this stage of the game, against a civilization that's known to make a few spears every now and again, especially against those French variants, or French in general, where you can actually do a lot of good damage. But we'll see if Wham is going to scout this dock, because this thing might actually be quite free. Now, once LucifroN does spot it, he should be able to pull enough villagers to get some work done. But what then? Because unfortunately, due to the spawn, ladies and gentlemen, if you shut down one gold, you are also going to be shutting down the other. And the spearmen will be finding an interesting second position to go harass. We see that spearman going straight towards the dock. He's like, you are not getting that for free.
Yeah, this is pretty scary all of a sudden for LucifroN. I mean, this is part of the reason I'm so surprised. We know Lancaster's penchant to open for these Dark Age spears, to push in that there, put on the pressure, give themselves the space needed to get those manners in quite safely, especially against the Knight Civ. You know, denying the gold, denying those initial Knights is so valuable. But here for LucifroN, I mean, this Dark is... Yeah, and Wham's reinvesting. This dock is not going to be long for this world. There's just no way LucifroN actually ages up and this dock survives at the same time. Now, a good part for him is the fact that, you know, because Wham is so focused on this dock, it does mean that he's going to be able to get in the gold needed to age up quickly, which he so did already. But as a result of that, his age up is going to be somewhat delayed, even more so than before, as he's shifted onto the gold prematurely, as opposed to the food, just to make sure that it doesn't get pushed off of it. And I mean, JD is a very tanky villager at this point in time. She can fight spears pretty well, like 1 or 2 she can deal with pretty effectively here. And she can run away and be relatively safe, very high health pool. But there's a limit, right? Like, I'd be very surprised if this dock stays alive.
Definitely. The fact that you have these two spears out here on the map. Oh, I mean, two there, but there's four more on the map. Wham definitely is looking to punish this. Four now on the dock. This poor dock is. It definitely has seen better days. JD as well. She's taking quite a stick to the head there and will heal herself back up. She's got the inspiration to do so. But LucifroN, he's gathering every bit of gold he can because this man knows if those spears shut this down, they're going to have another target right after. You can imagine where those spears are going to go, and it's most likely going to be on top of gold. So we'll see what that gold looks like, but this dock is not looking too hot right now.
School of Cavalry, the landmark of choice here for LucifroN, definitely prudent. We were, I was half wondering whether Chamber of Commerce might be on the cards here for him, but yeah, I think these early spears are definitely going to put a hamper on that pretty effectively. The School of Cavalry is on the way for him. Likely going to be Lancaster Castle in for Wham as well. He has a pretty nice spawn at the front there for it to cover the berries, the stone, and the gold if he so chooses. And 7 spears on the field. Yeah, this dock is not long for this road. There is Lancaster Castle. LucifroN now pushed off of the gold as well. And I gotta say, I think LucifroN, it pains me to say, but is already quite severely behind.
That must feel quite difficult, especially in this scenario where you know that this is match point and you're going to be forced into another best of 3. But just like Vortex, I think LucifroN also benefits from a format that is best of 3 because LucifroN, he can be kind of wild, just like we are seeing right here. Going for a dock on a map like this, it does feel pretty risky. Now, I would like to see that gold. Yes, the gold has been denied. And now, even if Wham went ahead and followed this up with a villager, which it does not seem to be the case here, he would be able to shut down that second gold as well. But with those spears, you're already going to have such a difficult time to shut them down.
Yeah, exactly right. LucifroN did manage to get enough gold for the one night, but the one night, I mean, how much damage and value can he really afford? Archery range follow-up straight away, definitely the right choice here for LucifroN, but as I say that, it is in fact cancelled. Is he gonna opt to use his wood for something else? But, like, is there anything more useful they can go for? Okay, there is a mill on the way.
There's a mill, but is this just going to be one of the... What are you going to do with this mill, LucifroN? I feel like this is exactly what I meant. LucifroN, he's just cooking things. We weren't ready to get served, but now those boys do back off. The archery range is going to come through. Is that an archery? Yes, it's an archery range. I was about to say. So getting that archery range is going to still be the plan, and that's most likely what you want to do. You want to try and find some damage on these spears so JD can also thrive. But with that singular knight now, he's going to be able to run around and try to force those spears to go back to base. Because you still don't want Lancaster to get ahead too far, because they're just going to snowball completely, and you're going to have an impossible time. Now, going straight onto the gold here, he does feel confident enough because, JD is ready to attack as well, and with these archers, he is not going to stay around for too long.
Oh, for sure. The archers are going to be on the way, so the spears, if they want to keep their lives, they have to back off now. Gold access has been re-established here for LucifroN, so the night pump will continue quite soon, but, I mean, just like Wham delayed himself with the spears, LucifroN delayed himself with the dock, so we're back to a relatively even game in this position, but as LucifroN, really, the pressure is on you to make something happen here with these knights. You have no trade behind this. You have no superior gathering rate on deer or on shorefish, for that matter. So, yeah, we do see a move out now. So LucifroN is just going to opt to get that superior food income in quickly, extend the lifespan of his sheep, and start pumping numbers up aggressively high. And I think maybe with access to this food, he might be able to get some good damage done if he really knows how to place his aggression. But it still won't be easy up against the House of Lancaster. We mentioned the choices they have. The Yeoman, the Spearman, the Hobble are all really effective in this feudal age at dealing with the mass from JD. But JD, unlike French, really, really benefits directly from these early game exchanges, doesn't she?
Oh, she does. And she loves a good spearman fight, especially in this position. Now, LucifroN has this very unique time where he can do some damage. Because the thing is, Wham has invested in more manners. And that might be a little bit greedy in the scenario when you're playing against a civilization that can possibly produce a ton of units pretty early on. Now, with you shutting down the dock, you're most likely in the driver's seat, and you get to make these decisions. But again, it can cost you dearly. JD now, she is heading on in, but the problem is that Lancaster Castle situation is not going to be an easy one to shut down. Now going onto the wood line, though, that was not something I would have predicted here.
Yeah, although the wood lines on this map are always tucked away at the back quite safely, they are on the edge, diagonal range of the town center, so they can come exposed quite early in terms of town center range, and LucifroN definitely knows that and recognizes it, looking to put on the pressure quite early here. And well done in doing so as well. Manages to kill one of the villagers, and now looks to kill another one. As the knight's going directly, that villager is definitely dead. Any more to follow? Likely not. More XP going over to JD at this point in time. And shutting down the wood so early is really great damage. I don't think Wham has the wood needed for the additional 2 manas. We can have a quick look at his base here. I think he only has the 4 and can't afford any more yet. Okay, there's a 5th one on the way, and he's going to have the wood just now for the 6th one. So not too bad for him. Muster the Nobles is on the way as well, off of 5 mana, so that's going to be a total of 8, I believe, Demo Lancers, if I'm not mistaken. And
might be 7, yeah. We'll see. From my it's okay, Clara. Yeah,
8,
you might be right. Okay,
it's 7. Never mind.
Oh, it's fine. It's okay. We're here to all do math. Twitch chat was also calculating there. They were ready to correct you. They were all sitting there like, actually. No, though, 7 Demi-Lancers is pretty scary. I know against 5 knights, they might not be trading too equally, though.
Yeah, equally is a dream for the Demolancers to trade against these knights, that's for sure. Even in advantageous numbers, 7 against 5 at this point in time, that's not going to be a fight that they win nowhere near due to that severe stat difference. However, idle time and villager kills is something they can do quite effectively as any other units. One of the vills gets trapped straight away and dies quickly afterwards. Meanwhile, Spear Raid on the Shoreline Fish as well. Pretty big, and the Demi-Lancers are going to connect. This is actually crippling here for LucifroN right now. This is not only idle time, but villager losses as well. Good kiting and movement here from Wham ensures that he stays on top of the villagers, and all of them are going to go down, Wham, and this is so much damage.
It feels like such a tough spot to be in as LucifroN, because when you lose this many, there's no answer for you to actually get back in this, and he knows this, and that's why he's just doubling down. He's like, okay, I have a lot of units. I'm going to try to use the resources that I got, but I know this is it. So if he cannot find significant damage on this economy, he is going to struggle so much. So getting that ram out, trying to do some work now, but that white tower is quite optimistic. Protecting that second gold instead of protecting these manors might actually be LucifroN's only option. So with that white tower being completely out of position to provide some level of protection here, he might have a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Wham already planning for the mid game to secure that gold there, but as you mentioned, the manors are left exposed. The Lancaster Castle is going to buff them up pretty nicely here for Wham, so there'll be, a while for this world still. But there's very little mass here from Wham, right? We do see knights in queue now, but there is no collar of Estes. So even though they are superior to LucifroN's knights, they're not as good as they possibly could be, right? So first mana has fallen, plus 30 XP for Jean, who's almost halfway now to her 3rd form. And LucifroN's going to pivot around the Lancaster Castle to go for these other manas on the flank, but yeah. Classic pathing with the Rams. He has to slide into that gap a little bit so that they both can hit. And, Steeled Arrow is in for LucifroN, so the arrow fire isn't as bad as it could be, but it's still a lot of arrows to keep eating here. And, Ram's economy is still pretty healthy. He can just keep adding knights. LucifroN is content to stay Feudal Age behind this.
LucifroN is investing every single bit of resource that he can. The thing is, the crossbow numbers are not increasing. Wham has not decided to invest in those, instead just going for his own knights, knowing that Castle Age knights historically do a little bit better than the Feudal Age ones, even if they are of the French variety. JD, though, she's loving this. She is just... Oh, never mind. She is not loving this anymore. Guys, I curse LucifroN, and I am so sorry for this poor man. JD has gone down, and so... as the chances of cleaning this up effectively, because now you have JD dead, and this was her time to shine. She needed this experience. Now those Castle Age Knights are going to be running right through you, and he knows this.
And just like that, with one horrific raid that LucifroN just did not anticipate, 7 villages dying on his most crucial economy, the food, the superior food with that shoreline fish, and his gold as well. Too much damage, and when the dive did not yield the results needed, JD falling short there in the fight. Falling behind the Knights against the Castle Age is a horrible spot to be in as the Knight player in the Feudal Age, that's for sure, and GG is called. LucifroN will get taken out from this side of the tournament, but I think he's not out yet, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he is now going to the loser bracket, where he will be facing off against the next challenger who also got knocked down. But we'll see if Wham can make this a pretty clear victory on his side, because he looked good. He knew where to invest. He did make a few slip-ups, but the thing is, they were so small in comparison with the plays he made. And that just shows you, Wham, he's back. He lost a few vills there on the wood line, but he knew, I just need to do the counter damage. He knew where to find it, and he read LucifroN perfectly. Absolutely amazing work here by Wham. Love to see this, and I love to see that aggression coming on back.
Just really solid understanding of his timings, right? I mean, knowing that despite all the investment from LucifroN, he's safe to just go straight forward with those Demo Lancers, straight forward with a bunch of the spears to idle out even more of LucifroN's economy, knowing that behind it he's just going to throw up a white tower and he's fine. Understanding LucifroN's ram timing and how it was delayed because of that dock play. I really think that dock play set LucifroN back so much. Maybe he just did not expect the spear play, or maybe he thought Wham would be too focused on shoving in his deer and not discovering the dock, but it really did not pay fruit for him. And you know, it's a very unfortunate way to go out like this in this series, at least. But he put up a great fight and really had Wham sweating.
Okay. Yeah, and we're ready with Wham. Wham is waiting for us to bring on the interview. So guys, let's hop on in and see our champion. Now, Wham, you played... I feel like with your Lancaster right now, it was quite aggressive. Is this what we're going to be seeing from Wham? I remember on Steel Series one time, I made the joke of the Wham walls, and it stuck. But this didn't feel like a Wham wall kind of series. So what's going on? What's up with the playstyle?
I think the meta is very aggressive right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I do wall, but it's usually... you know, at certain points when knights are killing your villagers, that's the signal to wall your base, you know?
You've been very tactical about them in the past. I know the reason I bring up the Wham walls is because I love it so much. Every single time I see a wall, is that a Wham wall? The thing is, even when the knights came into your woodline there, I saw those walls. They were there intentionally, and I think you've perfected the art. But you know exactly when to be aggressive and when to pull back. Do you feel like your game now, where you are in the game right now, is a lot further than it was at the time around Wallalaw last year? Do you feel like you're a very different player? Or where are you at right now?
I think everybody's a different player. The meta has just changed so much with pro scouts and deal pushing and stuff. Personally, I feel kind of the same, you know. I feel like I'm just as strong. I haven't evolved that much. I've gotten a little bit better, but everybody has. So it's just like the constant competitive aspect of the game at the moment is really, I think, driving up everyone's level.
I can definitely see that, because I remember when the divide at the top was very clear, but now you guys are kind of getting blurry. And it's starting to get a lot more competitive, especially for the viewers as well. And now you're heading into the best of fives. Where do you think you shine more? Best of threes or best of fives?
I'm going to say best of fives, but the thing is with the best of fives is that you're up against, like, everybody is good in the best of fives. Like, obviously, in best of threes, everyone's good as well, but it's kind of, you know, for me personally, it's like I don't feel as confident going into these best of fives just because I'm playing against better players. But the format is fine for me. I don't mind the format at all.
Okay. And who do you think is your biggest opponent here, except for Marine Lord? I'm vetoing Marine Lord for this one. Except for Marine Lord, who's your biggest opponent in this tournament right now?
I think Puppy Paw's my biggest opponent. This guy he's just so good, you know? Like,
I heard.
I would be scared if I was Marine Lord.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
So you think Puppy is the favorite to take it this time? Oh, if it's not you.
He's in my book. He's usually the favorite to take it, but I mean, I think I played against Ruli in my previous series, and he played very well as well. I mean, he always plays well. Marine World always plays well. BC always plays well. I mean, so I would say Puppy Paw, Marine World are probably the favorites right now, but any one of those people I mentioned can take it.
All right. And my last question would basically just be on the meta for you right now. Is Age of Empires right now what you think it could be in its best state, or what do you want more out of the game right now?
That's a difficult question because I mean I'm gonna be a little bit critical just because like this is my personal opinion. Obviously, you know, you feel free to disagree with me, but I would prefer if the game was a little bit more towards second TC, a little bit of a slower paced game. At the moment, it's really fast paced, and you saw it, I think, in my opinion, in the first game versus LucifroN, the Rus and the China game. If you are not keeping up in the food, in the army, it's very easy to die. And just my personal opinion, I'd prefer more of the 2TC meta.
I see Twitch chat is saying 2TC enjoyers. Yeah, I know that there was a time where it was just 2TC every game. There's no way to kill it. So I think we'll have to ask the chat how they feel about that one. But I think there's a lot of pro players that favor that as well. And I do remember you being a pretty good 2TC player too. But yeah, congratulations. And I really hope to see you in the next rounds also kicking butt. So yeah, see you soon.
Yeah,
in the next
thank
one.
you.
And guys, we're going to
Take care.
break. Bye.